exploring systemic functional grammar, understanding its key groups and examples for effective language analysis. Groups in systemic functional grammar are the equivalent of phrases in traditional grammar and transformation generative grammar, TGG. The logic behind groups in SFG will be explained to you in the foregoing sections of this video. Group refer to a word or group of words that function as a whole. It refers to a word or a group of words working together to achieve a common purpose. A group is made up of at least a head word, or a head word and modifiers, or a head word, modifiers and qualifiers. Head words are the points of convergence in a group. What this means is that they are the most important element of a group around which the other elements revolve, such that without a head word, there is no group. Take for instance, an expensive gift. Compare with an expensive. You would notice that the structure in B appears to be lacking in meaning, looking like an uncompleted statement. This is because the head word of the group was ellipted, hence rendering the expression meaningless. The head word that was removed, gift, is a noun, and because it is a noun and the head word of the expression, it automatically makes the group a nominal group. Groups are named after the head word, and this is because the other elements of a group can be ellipted without rendering the group meaningless. For example, an expensive gift. We still get the idea of what is being insinuated. But check this other expression, expensive or an expensive. None of the expressions make sense without the head word, which is why every group is named after its head word. So if the head word of a group is a noun, then it is a nominal group. If the head word is a verb, then it is a verbal group, and vice versa. Modifiers are words that appear before the head word in a group, while qualifiers are words that appear after the head words in a group. Take for example, the book on the table. We can already tell that book is the head word because it is the main point of convergence. Every other element just adds more information to it, and it can stand on its own and still express meaning. Since we have identified the head word of the group, every other element is either a modifier or qualifier depending on where they appear. So the is the modifier element, while on the table forms the qualifier element of the nominal group. The formula for the structure of groups is MHQ, and it has a number of possible formations like H, MH, MHQ, HQ, MMHQ, MMMH. Now there are 5 types of groups in SFG, namely, nominal groups, verbal groups, adjectival groups, adverbial groups, and prepositional groups. Each of these groups has functions it performs in clauses which will be elucidated as we proceed. Nominal groups. Nominal groups are groups that have nouns or nominal elements as its head word. What this implies is that the head word of a nominal group, after which it is named, could be a noun or any grammatical element that functions as a noun, like a gerund, a participle, a pronoun, etc. Examples of nominal groups include the good boy, singing on the roof, I myself, broken by the news of her death, the man who owns a mansion. Note, the qualifier element of a nominal group is usually a prepositional group. A nominal group usually functions as the subject of a clause. A separate article will be published soon on nominal groups to explain further. Verbal groups. Verbal groups are groups that are headed by verbs. That is, they are groups whose head words are verbs, particularly action verbs. Examples of verbal groups include the following: was, will have been sleeping, get up, could have found out, can play. Auxiliary verbs including primary and modal auxiliary verbs usually form the modifier elements of a verbal group, while particles like to form the qualifier element coming after the head word, an action verb. Verbal groups usually function as the predicator element of a clause. Adjectival group. Adjectival groups are groups that are headed by adjectives. These are groups that have adjectives as head words, and they perform the same functions as adjectives in clauses. For example, beautiful, fast enough, extremely funny, smarter than you think he is, much faster than before. Adjectival groups function as complement elements in a clause structure. Adverbial group. Adverbial groups are groups that are headed by adverbs. These groups are groups that have adverbs as their head words, and they perform the same functions as adverbs in sentences by modifying verbs, adjectives, or other adverbs. Examples of adverbial groups include quickly, very smartly, smoothly enough, quite slowly, slightly. Adverbial groups usually function as adjunct elements of a clause structure. Prepositional group. Prepositional groups are groups that are headed by prepositions. These groups have their head words as prepositions, and like prepositions, they can also function as adjectives and adverbs. Examples of prepositional groups include on the floor, in the middle, before the storm, down the road, ahead of time. Prepositional groups, like adverbial groups, also function as adjunct elements of a clause structure. See you soon.